In the mid-1800s, railway expansion was everybody's top priority. This was no exception to the Northern Railroad of New Jersey. This was a railroad first chartered in 1854 and opened in 1859. It was Bergen County's second ever railroad, following behind the Patterson and Hudson River Railroad. It had many connections with other railroads in towns like Hackensack and others. The northern terminal was Piermont, New York on the Erie Railroad, which had opened in 1841. After running on the Erie for 1 mile, trains reached the Northern's own line at Sparkill, New York, and ran for 21 miles to another junction with the Erie Railroad at Croxton in Jersey City. From there, trains ran on the Erie and New Jersey Railroad for 2.5 miles to the terminal later known as Exchange Place. Passengers could then continue by ferry into Chambers Street in Manhattan. Because of its running over the Erie, the Northern was built to the same 6-foot broad gauge. By September of 1859, there were 3 passenger trains in each direction, with one express running from Piermont to Jersey City in 70 minutes. Sometime during the 1860s, the Northern began running service westward from Sparkill on Erie's Piermont branch as far as Muncie, New York. The southern terminal was moved to Erie's Jersey City terminal in late 1868, about 6 months before the Northern Railroad's formal lease of the Erie. At that time, the company had 6 locomotives, 21 passenger and baggage cars, and 30 freight cars. Not long after, a nominally separate company, called the Nyack and Northern Railroad, built from Nyack south to meet the Northern at Sparkill, and from its opening in May 1870, Nyack became the northern terminal for most Northern Railroad trains. The northern track was changed to standard gauge along with the rest of the Erie system in 1878. For 5 miles in Hudson County, from Croxton to Granton, the New York, Susquehanna and Western ran parallel to the Northern Railroad. Joint stations were constructed between the railroads with platforms on each side. By the time the Susquehanna was leased to the Erie in 1898, the companies operated the parallel section as one multi-track railroad, with the Northern Railroad's tracks used mostly for northbound trains. Although the Erie lease ended in 1940, the track sharing continued into the late 1950s. The Northern Railroad was mainly a commuter and local line, with significant freight businesses only near its southern end. Business dropped off in the 1930s, and in 1942, the company's property was sold off to its long-term lessor, the Erie. From then on, the line was known as the Northern Branch. By 1954, the Northern Branch only had 3 rush-hour trains each way, which meant it had 6 trains per day it operated. Between 1956 and 1958, the Allied Erie and Delaware Lackawanna Western Railroad consolidated their diminishing passenger services at the Lackawanna's Hoboken terminal. During transition, the Erie trains continued to use their own Pavonia terminal for about an hour in each rush hour to distribute the heaviest of crowds. A Northern Branch terminal was the very last to leave the terminal in 1958. 2 years later, the Pavonia terminal was raised in 1961. The two companies merged in 1960 to form the Erie Lackawanna Railroad. The Northern Branch ran from Hoboken for only 8 years. Operation was complicated by the lack of a direct connection. Trains leaving Hoboken had to run out over the new connection from the Lackawanna's Boudin Branch to the Erie Main Line, pass a switch which would then be thrown, back up about 2 miles on the former route toward the Erie Terminal to where the Northern Branch joined the Erie Main, wait for another switch, and then proceed forward again to the Northern Branch. This move added 15 to 20 minutes of running time. Because commuter services cost more to run than the earned in fares, the Erie Lackawanna ended passenger service on several branches in 1966. On the Northern Branch, the entire railroad north of Sparkill was abandoned in January, and passenger service on the rest of the branch was eliminated in October. The last timetable, April 24, 1966, shows 3 rush-hour trains each way taking 60 minutes to run from Hoboken to Sparkill, only 10 minutes longer than the 1954 schedules because of some station closings. Although freight service on the line continued, service into New York State dropped in the late 70s after the Continental Can Company in Piermont closed. Before we continue, let me give you all the basic specifications on the Northern Branch. It ran originally from Jersey City, New Jersey to Nyack, New York, with the distance of 29 miles. It made 25 stops in total, which are the following: Pavonia Terminal or Hoboken Terminal, Susquehanna Transfer, North Bergen, New Durham, Babbitt, Fairview, Ridgefield, Morsemere, Palisades Park, Leonia, Englewood Sheffield Avenue, Hudson Avenue, Tenafly, Cresskill, Demarest, Gloucester, Norwood, Northvale, Tappan, Sparkhill, Piermont, Grandview, South Nyack, and Central Nyack. By the consolidation of Erie, Lackawanna, and Penn Central, among other railroads, into Conrail in 1976, both the West Shore Railroad and the Northern Branch fell under the control of Conrail. As trains accessing the Northern Branch in Jersey City had to go to Journal Square in reverse direction, and the connection included a graded crossing of Newark Avenue, freight trains typically used the New Jersey Junction Railroad and West Shore Railroad, renamed as Conrail's River Line, to go through northern New Jersey. This line is now known as the CSX River Subdivision. Around 1994, a short elevated track known as the Marion Running Track was built to connect the Passaic and Harsimus line towards Kearney with the Northern Branch. This provided the Northern Branch with a direct connection to other lines heading west and south at Marion Junction. After the breakup of Conrail in 1999, the Northern Branch was divided. Conrail Shared Assets Operations, otherwise known as CSAO, retained the tracks from Marion Junction to the CSX yard in North Bergen, known as the Northern Running Track. CSX was given the remaining section north to Northvale in addition to the West Shore Railroad running through the yard, known as the Bergen subdivision of the River Line. With New Jersey Transit's 2000 creation of the Hudson-Bergen Light Rail on the River Line east of the CSX North Bergen yard, freight trains needed an alternate route to get to the CSX Albany division. Trains were rerouted via the Northern Running Track to access the Bergen subdivision, and this part of the Northern Branch became a major CSX rail corridor from upstate New York. At that time, the Northern Running Track was improved to handle the heavier traffic that had formerly used the River Line on the east side of the New Jersey Palisades. New Jersey Transit paid for the project, which included double tracking the line, changing Marion Junction and Bergen Junction, and building overpasses on Secaucus Road and Patterson Plank Road. The rest of the Northern Branch continues north to the New York state line and is a minor spur. New Jersey Transit plans to restore passenger service over a portion of the CSX line between North Bergen and Englewood as an extension of the Hudson-Bergen Light Rail's Tonley Avenue line, known as the Northern Branch Corridor Project. It will continue north into 91st Street near the former Babbitt Station in North Bergen, run over the former Susquehanna Railroad Edgewater Branch and the CSX River Line into Ridgefield, then run north into Palisades Park, Leonia, and Englewood. The project is expected to cost nearly $1.3 billion. However, I don't think this will happen for a very long time, since the last update we got was in 2017. The Erie's Northern Branch was a vital connection point for multiple railroads during the mid-20th century. Part of it is technically still in use by CSAO, but the rest of it is just sitting there, abandoned, waiting for years to be used again and revived. It was a marvel that a lot of people, especially rail fans, kind of forgot about in a sense. Hopefully sometime in this century, the Northern Branch will be reopened all the way up. For now, we just have to let time do its work. Thanks for watching another Forgotten Railway Stories video. Remember to like and subscribe for more future content coming your way. That's all I had to say for now. Thanks for watching everyone and have a great day. Peace.